Has Amanda LaRusso become even more supportive of Daniel? That's a question that seemed to be asked in Cobra Kai seasons 4 and 5, as she felt that her husband kept dragging out a rivalry without knowing the history behind it. Although it took some time for her to understand, she eventually came around and became more involved in the rivalry between Miyagi-Fang and Cobra Kai. This is why Amanda is encouraging. Let's talk about her problems with Cobra Kai, becoming a pillar of support in the process, her connection with Tory, and more. Let's recap on what we know about Amanda so far. Since this is a continuation of my previous video, How Amanda Keeps Daniel Grounded, I'm only going to recap the events of Amanda's arc in seasons 4 and 5. Feel free to skip ahead to avoid the recap, but be warned, you may miss some important details later on in the video. Amanda is on edge after Cobra Kai invaded the LaRusso household and is furious at Tory Nichols going so far to confront her at her job, resulting in her daughter's rival being fired. After learning from Kreese that Tory doesn't have the greatest home life, Amanda tries to make amends, but it backfires. Witnessing that the rivalry isn't going to stop anytime soon, she reaches out to Tory again and lets her know that she would be surprised who she got help from if she asked. Nichols takes her up on this and Amanda agrees to help, despite Sam's insistence not to, and confides in Daniel that she had a rough time in high school as well when her family got broken up, which is why she wants to help. The LaRussos take into consideration of Vanessa's analysis of how they raised Anthony and prepare for the All Valley, where Cobra Kai wins due to a bribed ref. Despite Daniel's insistence to fly Chosen out to stop Silver, Amanda thinks he has taken it too far and is unaware of some of his ploys, including having Chosen disguise himself as a sensei and tracking down Mike Barnes. This comes to light when Silver manipulates both Daniel and Amanda and costs her a spot on the charity board. Amanda decides to go to her mother's and takes the kids with her to get some space, but talks to Jessica, who explains how bad Silver really is, as she was the one who set the two up, and decides to cut Daniel some slack. However, due to his loss to Silver and no longer wanting to fight, Amanda enlists the help of Chosen, Johnny, Robbie, and Sam to get him out of his depression, which raises her husband's spirits. She's also the one to suggest that Johnny and Daniel talk to Kreese to find out what Silver is planning, and after both dojos gain entry to the Sekai Tekai, suggests the idea of a night off for the group to enjoy themselves. Stingray informs Amanda and Carmen of Cobra Kai's plan to ambush Miyagi-Fang, and he takes them along with Daniel to the dojo where Amanda encourages Daniel to confront Terry. LaRusso defeats Silver, and Amanda is glad her family is safe. Let's first talk about Amanda's problems with Cobra Kai, or rather, her problems with Daniel's rivalry with said dojo. When talking with Daniel after his first day with Johnny, she's clearly on edge from the break-in and wonders even if they win the tournament if Kreese would shut down the dojo. As I mentioned in my prior video about her, Amanda was hesitant if Cobra Kai was as bad as Daniel said they were, but starts to believe when Kreese takes over the dojo, though still has her reservations about Johnny. The fact she went and confronted Tory because of what happened to her daughter says a lot, in a similar manner to how she confronted Kreese in season 3. When Daniel is hungover in match point, she voices her concerns about he and Johnny fighting, and also can't believe there would be another person from Daniel's past that could pop up that's associated with Cobra Kai. During the rest of season 4, this is mostly put to rest and we don't see her concern again until a long way from home at the start of season 5. Amanda voices her concern about not only Chosen visiting, but now staying, and Daniel insisting to put a stop to Terry Silver, despite Sam not getting hurt and Kreese now being in jail. She's more concerned about Anthony and Sam's safety and not the rest of the Valleys, which prompts Daniel to keep a promise of not putting his children in harm's way by shutting down Miyagi-Do. Amanda is glad that Chosen is not seen for a good while as he's undercover, and is oblivious to the work he and Daniel commit to in the next few episodes. However, this changes when she's manipulated by Terry Silver in Downward Spiral. Silver makes it seem like Daniel purposely sabotaged his search for senseis, while also downplaying her husband's paranoia, and makes it seem like he told Ava something horrible about Amanda, causing Daniel to overreact. When Chosen lets slip about the fight at Mike Barnes' furniture store, Daniel insists that he's going to keep trying to shut down Cobra Kai, making her think that he keeps hanging on to rivalries. It's not until her cousin, Jessica Andrews, makes it clear that Silver is more deceptive than she thought, and makes her realize that Daniel is in the right about his trauma with Cobra Kai. Although her husband no longer wants to fight, she listens to her daughter's statement about saying that there are some fights that even Mr. Miyagi would not walk away from, mirroring his change of stance to train Daniel to defend himself against Mike Barnes in Karate Kid Part 3. Amanda has the idea to bring Daniel to Mr. Miyagi's room, where she recounts that she was afraid the night before their wedding, and how Mr. Miyagi eased her fears by saying, "It's always easier to hide one's head in the sand." She then encourages Daniel to stand up to Terry Silver and apologizes for not seeing that sooner. Amanda looks on proudly after Daniel reconciles with Robbie and agrees to reopen the dojo. It's also her suggestion of talking to Kreese, which leads to Johnny and Daniel finding out about Terry Silver's plan to enter the Sekai Tekai. In a rare appearance, Amanda even accompanies Daniel, Johnny, and Chosen, as they introduce themselves to the Sekai Tekai board, announcing herself as karate adjacent. When Silver begins to taunt Daniel after the raid on Cobra Kai, it's Amanda's "we're all with you, do what you have to do" that gives him the courage to accept Terry's challenge to a fight. While Amanda has been the voice of reason at times when Daniel has gone overboard, there were times that she should have trusted his instincts, especially on how Cobra Kai was such a big problem in the past for Daniel. Thankfully, she realized the errors of her ways and stuck by him even with some of his biggest rivals from his past. The fact she got more involved with the dojo says a lot, and perhaps this is something we'll see more of in Season 6. Let's also talk about Amanda's connection with Tory. Initially, she was very hostile towards Nichols, even going so far to confront her at her job to make sure she stayed away from Sam. There's also a deleted scene where right before she visits Tory, she talks to Sam about this rivalry. However, Kreese puts things into perspective for Amanda. Since her mother is very sick, it's up to Tory to pay the bills and take care of the house. She then tries to drop off food as a peace offering, but this backfires as Nichols is even more furious. When seeing how petty Sam is and how Tory also fired back, Amanda tries to get through to Tory, who is still defensive. She then makes it known that the world isn't out to get you, and no one will help if you don't let them. These words stick to Tory, as out of options, she approaches Amanda for help. Mrs. LaRusso advises that she needs to seek counseling, which goes on to help Tory ultimately, as we see in both seasons 4 and 5. While Sam is upset about this, and to an extent Daniel, Amanda recounts the story of how her math tutor had an affair with her father, and in retaliation, she smashed up the tutor's car, got arrested, and didn't walk her graduation. She realizes the similarities between herself and Tory and wants to help with at least a wake-up call, which also inspires Daniel to attempt to do the same with Robbie, and in essence, Dimitri with Hawk. The two don't interact again until right before the finals, where Tory thanks Amanda for her help and promises to not seriously injure Sam, which Amanda acknowledges in Season 5. Of all people to help Tory, I don't think many were expecting for Amanda to be the one to do it. However, it does make sense because she also helped Robbie out when he was part of Miyagi-Do. Perhaps we'll see more of this relationship develop between the two if Amanda takes more interest in the dojo in Season 6. Here are my final thoughts on Amanda and what we can expect to see from her in the future. It's great that she continues to support Daniel despite the hiccups at first, but I'm glad she was able to come to her senses and realize how badly Cobra Kai treated her husband in the past. Jessica having a much larger role in that is also amazing, considering how she was written in Karate Kid Part 3. In Season 6, I imagine we'll see her continue supporting Miyagi-Fang and also be supportive towards Tory, Robbie, and the other students. After all, Amanda is one of the closest things Daniel has to a Miyagi. Another supportive person who doesn't fight battles but is part of the dojo by affiliation is Carmen. Like Amanda, she supports Johnny and helps keep him grounded while offering advice at times to help.